Welcome back to Teen TV Deep Dive. Here on this channel, we talk about all things Teen TV. Today, we're going to be ranking every single Glee Club member from least favorite to favorite. I thought it would be best to wrap up just the whole conversation around Glee here on my channel. I feel like I've been talking about it for a really long time, and as huge of a Glee fan I am, I feel like it's kind of dragging on. So I wanted to condense my opinions from seasons 4, 5, and 6 into one video, and I'm ranking all of the official Glee Club members based on their actions from these 3 seasons. The first tier of characters are going to be characters that I just straight up don't like, and we're going to work my way up to my favorites. So my absolute least favorite Glee Club member is Puck. He's a creep and a bum. Moving on to Kitty from season 4. She was mean for absolutely no reason, and I just dislike her voice. Madison from season 6. She was overbearing to her brother, and season 6 characters already didn't have that much time to shine. So the little that I did see from her, I didn't enjoy. Moving on to Ryder, he was very emotionally hostile at times. He did go through some pretty messed up things in the show, like being catfished and feeling like a second option to a love triangle, but he was very aggressive with his emotions and how he expressed them, very angry. And I feel like he low-key guilt-tripped Marley into dating him or trying to see a connection through with him. Next is Spencer from season 6. He was rude, overly cocky. The only reason why Spencer is at the top of the disliked portion of this ranking is because I enjoyed how he broke stereotypes for the queer community, because he was a football player, but he was also openly out and gay, and it wasn't really an issue, and he kind of owned that. So that's one redeemable quality about him. This next category of characters, I called it tread lightly, and is basically people who are okay. I wouldn't say that I dislike these characters, but also if they do a little bit too much, they can move right down to the dislike category. I feel like the perfect example of that would be Jake from season 4. He was sometimes sweet, then a little bit sour, then just all out gone, kind of like a Sour Patch Kid. And he played in Marley's face, and if he were to play in her face again, because they got written off the show pretty quickly, if he were to play in Marley's face again, he would immediately be in the dislike category. And next would be Quinn from season 1. She went through a lot. We saw in seasons 1 through 3. She was pregnant as a teen. She was in a car accident, which made her be temporarily handicapped for a while. So she did go through lots of things that just messed with her mentally. And being in high school, having that lack of popularity and things like that being taken away from her, I definitely do see why she was so all over the place, but she's still kind of rude. And her redemption arc throughout the show just didn't really speak to me. Even though she made amends with all of her past victims of her bullying, I still don't like her that much. And Rachel. Rachel is the main character, so I guess it's kind of a hot take that she's so low on my rankings. But I feel like Rachel makes everything about her, and she wants success for the wrong reasons. I would understand if she just had these huge dreams of being a Broadway star because she loves singing, she loves New York, whatever the case may be. She does like those things to an extent, but she really wants to be famous and successful because she wants to prove all the people wrong from high school and her childhood that you guys didn't want to include me in your friend group. Well, look at me now. I'm so much better than you guys are. So I feel like her motivations were all over the place. And also in season 6, we see that Rachel ends up going through some struggles with trying to make a Broadway or acting career take off. So she ends up returning back to Lima, and she takes over the Glee Club. I feel like this was a huge mistake. It was comfortable, yes, going back to your high school where she was the cream of the crop, the star of the show. It was very comforting for Rachel to be back in McKinley and in the Glee Club, but she didn't care for real. Like, she didn't have the passion that I feel like a teacher requires to be part of Glee Club. And she just made it all about her. She was a teacher, but she still made it the Rachel show when it should have been her pouring into the students. But I will say for Rachel, she's talented nonetheless, and I kind of felt bad for her after Finn had died and losing such a major love of her life. I feel like her character just wasn't the same afterwards. My next category is neutral, but still not notable. Like, these people aren't really characters I have a whole lot of opinions on. I don't like them, I don't dislike them. They're kind of just there. And unfortunately, this is where I noticed when I was making this list is where that final gen of Glee Club members are, where season 6 we didn't see much of them, so that's kind of why they're all here. I would say Mason from season 6, he's a little bit more likable than his sister, but still nothing special. Sugar, she's a spoiled brat and another character on the show who just doesn't get any closure to their storyline. Myron, a diva, but he low-key ate. He was one of the young middle schoolers who was the superintendent's nephew, and the superintendent forced him to be a part of the Glee Club, but we didn't get much time to like him, to be honest. So with that, he's neutral. I wish I had more time to see him, and I probably would have loved Myron. And next is Alistair. He really gave us nothing but flawless hair, and that's kind of okay. This next tier of people are not my faves, but I still like them. I have pretty positive thoughts about them, but again, don't really have much to say when it comes to them. Rory, he was an Irish foreign exchange student. He was really sweet, very talented, and he entered the show or Glee Club at a time where they really, really needed him, but his exit was never explained. He was only in season 3, and then in season 4, he was gone without any explanation. I would have loved to see him have a more heartfelt exit to the show. I understand him being a foreign exchange student, he was only supposed to be there for one school year, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more time spent on Rory and his storyline. Next would be Roderick from season 6. He is very talented, and his whole deal is kind of him being a loner, and he just transferred to McKinley for his senior year, so he is where it's supposed to be the super fun time with all of his friends. He doesn't know anyone, and he was so positive. I feel like I wish I got to see him build more friendships. We kind of saw Roderick and Spencer build somewhat of a friendship towards the end of season 6, but we didn't see much more development past that, and I would have really enjoyed that. Next is Mike. He was barely in the show after season 3, but I like whenever the Glee Club members come back often after they graduate, like very often. But I liked how when Mike would show up and revisit the Glee Club, he actually helped the kids. And this might be a little bit niche or me just overthinking it, but if I had to recommend someone to take over the Glee Club, I feel like Mike would be a part of it. Yes, he doesn't have the vocals, but maybe he could have been an assistant coach to make sure their dance moves were 100% there. Next is Joe. I enjoyed Joe because I enjoyed seeing another Christian person in the show aside from Mercedes, and having like more versatility in the different types of religion that they portray on the show, and seeing him be more closed-minded. He was homeschooled beforehand, so he didn't get much exposure to different groups of people, but I liked seeing over time Joe became more open-minded, and season 4 I felt like was the perfect time for Joe to get more spotlight and recognition within the Glee Club, but that didn't happen, and he was another character that was written off without any extra closure, which I would have loved to see his story kind of develop into something more. Next is Brittany. Her character went downhill in season 4. We see that at the end of season 3, she was supposed to be a part of the original graduating class, but then she had become held back a year and she spiraled with that. And between her breakup with Santana, it was a lot going on. And then in season 5, we see that there's almost a instant flip where Brittany goes from being portrayed as like the dummy of the group to where she's a super mathematical genius and magically knows everything. To me, it was kind of confusing. I liked how her storyline was about her feeling this really strong connection to Santana because Santana sees her for more than just the airhead that everyone else labels her as. But I would have loved to see her continue to show the same characteristics and qualities that she had before from seasons 1 through 3, but then still find a career or some sort of path in life where she was successful and happy with it instead of Brittany overnight becoming super smart, which just seemed really strange. Next is Artie. I liked him a lot, but I see, especially after he graduated, he had a lot of irresponsible moments with dating, his decisions of going to college and discovering New York. It just seemed like Artie kind of had his priorities messed up. Next is Tina. We see in season 4 she's a senior, and so she's gained so much confidence and she's really willing to put herself out there and try and become the new face of the Glee Club, aka the new Rachel. And I love that for her because she was one of the original members of the Glee Club. She never really complained about not having very many solos. So for her to come with this newfound confidence, I love that. But something that I didn't really enjoy with Tina's character and the treatment of her character was that she couldn't catch a break. First, it was that long distance didn't work with her and Mike Chang, and that was a popular theme throughout the show, so I'm not too much surprised by that. But then we see her within the actual high school. We don't see any new love interest for her. And for some reason, it was so much of season 5 spent on Tina having a crush on Blaine, which is, of course, going to be unrequited. And even in the end, everyone else got to rekindle with that major love of the show, like Brittany and Santana, Kurt and Blaine, but Mike and Tina never got to have that. I feel like she deserved better. She was so patient of letting everyone else have their moment of spotlight, but Tina just didn't get that same treatment like ever. And she came through for the Glee Club so many times with costumes, last minute solos, last minute changes to their sets and everything like that. And Tina took it all on the chin, but she just didn't get very much recognition. The last character in this category is Kurt. I've never really been someone who loves Kurt, stands Kurt, anything like that. But this time around with my rewatch, he ate. I don't know what about his character this time around spoke to me. And as someone who's an avid Glee fan, I've rewatched the show. I've lost count at this point how many times I've rewatched it. I don't know. Kurt ate this time. I feel like he was also really so real during the New York City episodes. Season 4 starts where Kurt didn't end up getting into NYADA his senior year. So he stayed in Lima. He goes to community college and he's working at the coffee shop. He's frequently visiting McKinley and feels like something is off. He says that he's really happy and invested in the Glee Club still, and he's very happy for Rachel and everything that she started in New York City. But it feels like he's so invested and supportive in everyone else's lives that it seems like Kurt doesn't really have much going for himself, or he isn't happy with his plans that he has in place for himself. So he, with the support of his dad, Kurt decides that he's going to give New York a try. He's going to get at least in the city, get his foot in the door, and figure things out as he goes from there. And from this, he ends up living with Rachel. They have a really good time. He gets a job at a diner, and he does eventually get into NYADA. and he's there, he's growing, learning, making new friends. Eventually, Kurt ends up having this major glow up. His style has upgraded, hair, body, he's even been working out a little bit. But what about Kurt's glow up that I really loved is because it started internally. You see that he gained so much confidence within himself and his talent when he was able to exercise it and learn from the best of the best there at Niyata. By the end of the show, I'm still not really sure of what he ended up doing as a career. He seemed successful and happy and content in his marriage with Blaine, which I also love that storyline as well. But with Kurt, again, the Glee Club baton gets passed around a lot after they graduate. Um, Kurt would be another strong candidate of taking over the Glee Club. He showed that he was invested in all of the students in seasons 4 and 6 when there were new characters introduced. This next year, I feel like we're really cooking with some hot grease now. This next year, pretty simple. It's called Favs. To kick it off with Marley, I think she has such a pretty voice and she's so genuinely kind. I feel like kind characters and genuine people are kind of hard to find on Glee, I'm not gonna lie. They always have some secrets or some ulterior motives, and Marley just doesn't have that. She just wants to find friends and find belonging within high school. And I enjoyed the wallflower vibe that she had, and I really supported her choice of staying single after the whole Jake Ryder love triangle situation. Next is Unique. I love her down. She was a recurring character in season 3. She actually started off as a member of Vocal Adrenaline, and it was when Jesse St. James was the leader over there, and he doesn't really support Unique in her full identity. He just wants to kind of extort her and use her as some sort of stage prop and character. But she ends up moving to McKinley, where she's basically like if Kurt and Mercedes had a fabulous baby, it would be Unique. And she finds her place there after talking to them. I love Unique for so many reasons, and it's because she gives the best advice. We see her and Marley kind of become best friends, and she's always like giving the girls like the real deal. She never sugarcoats or anything like that. She actually gives people the best advice for them, and I love that. And I love her confidence and her talent. I feel like everyone else went through moments with them asking themselves, are they good enough? Can they really have those, accomplish those big dreams that they have? And we see Unique never really had that issue. And so I love that for her. Another thing that I loved about Unique was how she was able to represent a group that wasn't represented before on Glee, which is that Unique is a boy, but then we see that she will dress up as this character named Unique, and that is a girl. And then we see over time, slowly but surely, it doesn't become so much as more of a drag situation, but actually becomes that Unique feels more comfortable identifying herself as a woman. And I love that trans representation and like the real time progress of her discovering herself and her true identity. One thing I did not like about Unique was that felt like she had to catfish Ryder. There was a moment where Ryder was talking online to this girl for the longest. Her name was Katie, and she was like some beautiful girl that supposedly went to their school, but turns out it was Unique trying to talk to Ryder because she had a crush on him, but she didn't feel like he would like her, knowing who he was truly talking to. And I just wish for that she knew that her time for love was coming. Like she always told all of the other girls to, take your time with love. Don't be thirsty over guys. And I wish she had internalized that same message that she was giving out. The last person in my faves category is Sam. He is so sweet, But I felt bad for him because he spent the majority of his time on the series being in love with Mercedes. Even when he dated different girls, he still had feelings for Mercedes, or afterwards would come back to the realization that he was in love with her. One bone that I have to pick, which is not so much with Sam, but with the writing of the show, is I didn't like how the writers tried to turn Sam into the new Finn. They could have had similar storylines to how they would have envisioned Finn's character if he didn't pass away in seasons 5 and 6, because they are very similar guys. Like, they're both jocks. They aren't into the whole musical theater aspect of things, but they do enjoy singing. Sam did want to originally pursue a career in modeling, but that kind of fell through after Finn's character had passed away. It just overall became very forced, especially with Sam deciding to choose teaching the Glee Club over his modeling career that he had going in New York, and choosing to be a coach. I didn't feel like that was necessarily right for him, or it didn't feel authentic to Sam's character like it was before in seasons 2 and 3, and possibly even 4. And ultimately, him choosing to be with Rachel, I felt like if Rachel's greatest love of the show was supposed to be Finn, and Sam's greatest love, in my opinion, of the show was Mercedes. I felt like Rachel and Mercedes always being in constant competition with each other, it wouldn't have been a good idea for Sam to go after Rachel if his heart truly belongs to Mercedes. And then, even from a friendship level, if Sam and Finn were very close, I feel like it's kind of wrong for Sam to try and pursue Rachel in a romantic light. Now for my last tier, it's called the Big Three, and these are my absolute favorites. I love them a lot. So it would be Blaine is my third favorite Glee character. He's so charming, and he has the best male vocals of the show, in my opinion. I constantly listen to Blaine's covers of songs on Spotify all the time. But one thing I will say about Blaine is I disliked how he cheated on Kurt in season 4. It was just out of a lot of insecurity and loneliness that he kind of projected onto Kurt, which I didn't necessarily agree with. And then also in season 5, he didn't really understand how him and Kurt can go through different seasons of life and different seasons of wins and success. And he wasn't adjusting well to him being in the backseat and Kurt enjoying his season of success and growth and popularity and things like that. Number 2, second most favorite Glee character is Santana. I absolutely love her humor and her just snarkiness overall. I love her star quality when it comes to performances. And I also enjoyed how she had a stable career going. She had a cheerleading scholarship at a college in Kentucky, but she still didn't feel necessarily fulfilled by that. So she also went to go to New York and try to pursue a career in entertainment. And she got a couple commercial gigs and things like that. She also got the role of the understudy for the musical Funny Girl, which is a huge accomplishment. I feel like it was very undermined by everything that Rachel had going on, where that was such a huge accomplishment and really emphasized Santana's talent and just as how capable she is of success is how everyone tried to portray Rachel to be. And I liked how Santana was eventually able to find her way back to Brittany. They're one of my all-time favorite couples. If you haven't seen my couple ranking video, I'll link it down in the description box below. But I love Brittana, so seeing them finally be in game and end up together was so satisfying. One thing I will note about Santana, I didn't like how she was living with Rachel and Kurt, and she still fought with Rachel. I feel like that was a bit disrespectful to come into their home and force herself into their home and then still be disrespectful toward Rachel. Now for the number one spot, my all-time favorite Glee Club member, it is Miss Mercedes Jones. She is the queen. I love how Mercedes stayed true to herself throughout the show, even with her career in music and her relationship with Sam. She was a devout Christian, so she always prioritized staying true to her morals, but also her religion. And she put specific boundaries within her relationship with Sam, but as well as her career in music. They tried to swap out Mercedes' pictures on her work of art, with someone else, and she ultimately chose to risk her album not being put out and risking her entire career in music with that one opportunity that she got to continue to stay true to herself. And if that isn't queen behavior, I don't know what is. I also like how Mercedes didn't view success and fame as something that she had to gatekeep or try to keep to herself. Cough, cough, Rachel, take some notes. She tried to put people on. She even brought in Brittany as a backup dancer on her tour, and she had asked if Santana could be a vocalist on her album or sing backup for her or something like that. And just in general, Mercedes can't do any wrong in my book. I love her down. So yeah, that's it for today. Comment down below who your favorite Glee character is. I would love to know. Be sure to follow me on my other social medias on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Threads, all at Teen TV Deep Dive Podcast for more. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.